You know life has a way of showing up, uninvited. Just when you think got it all together, bam, you lose your job, the business fails. Someone you love walks away. The storm hits. And in those moments, you have two choices. You can fall apart or you can fall forward. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. I'm saying it's possible. It's not what happens that determines your life future. It's what you do about what happens. That, my friend, is the key. You don't get to control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You see, staying positive doesn't mean pretending everything's okay. It means choosing to keep going, even when it's not. It's a decision, a mindset, a habit. And let me tell you something, positive thinking won't fix every problem, but it'll give you the strength to face them. Because here's the truth, no winter lasts forever. No storm stays. But the person you become during the storm, that's what matters. This message today is for the fighter in you. The part of you that wants to quit but won't. The part of you that's tired but still shows up. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. And how do you get better? How do you stay positive when life gets hard? You reflect. You discipline your mind. You build perspective. You feed your spirit. And most of all, you never stop believing in the future. In this journey, we're going to talk about that. We'll break it down. 5 parts. Not fantasy. Just timeless truths. Simple disciplines. Thoughts that will give you clarity when the road is rough. Because you can't always change the circumstances. But you can always change you. So let's begin this journey. Let's talk about how to stay positive when life gets tough. Let me tell you something. What's going on around you matters far less than what's going on within you. You can have chaos in the world, but peace in your mind. And if you have peace in your mind, you'll figure the rest out. See, when life gets tough, most people look outward. They point to the news, the economy, the family, the politics. But the why-zip, they look inward. Because your inner conversation, that quiet voice in your head, that's the real battleground. Stand guard at the door of your mind. That's what I always say. Because if you don't, something else will take over. Fear, doubt will. Negativity will. They don't knock politely. They barge in, uninvited, loud. And if you're not careful, they'll sit down and take over the conversation. Now let's get practical. You wake up in the morning, and maybe life isn't ideal. The bank account is low, the body's aching, the relationship's strained. And that inner voice says, nothing's working. You're not good enough. This will never change. That's the moment, right there, when your future is on the line. Because if you believe that voice, you start to spiral. Every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. And every day, choose the thoughts that serve you. You've got to talk to yourself, not listen to yourself. That's the habit. You wake up and say, yes, it's hard, but I'm capable. Yes, I've failed, but I've learned. Yes, I'm tired, but I've got something left in the tank. Because positivity is not blind optimism. It's inner leadership. It's choosing your thoughts on purpose. It's saying, I'm in charge here. And make no mistake, it's a habit. Like brushing your teeth or making your bed. You don't do it once and call it done. You do it every day, especially when life hurts. Now let me give you a little tip. Sometimes the voice in your head needs new material. If you're feeding your mind garbage all day, gossip, fear, comparison, then what do you expect that inner voice to sound like? That's why I always say, don't just be careful what you eat. Be careful what you feed your mind. Feed it good words, strong thoughts, hopeful stories, read something wise, listen to something uplifting, hang around someone positive, because your environment whispers and your inner voice repeats it louder. Let me give you a simple exercise at the end of each day. Reflect. Ask yourself, what did I say to myself today? Was it kind? Was it encouraging? Or was it filled with fear and blame? Awareness is the first step to control. And then tomorrow you show up again with better words, a better tone, a better attitude, because you're the one driving the ship, not the news, not your job, not your circumstances. Your personal philosophy is the major factor in how your life works out. And what is philosophy made of? Thoughts, belief talk. So guard it, shape it, direct it. Now let me tell you something else, because sometimes people say, Jim, I've been through too much. I can't change the way I think. And I say, you're wrong. You may not be able to change the past, but you can change your pattern, and that changes the future. You can start speaking new words today. You can start believing a new story. You can interrupt the old loop playing in your mind. That's where your power is. Let me leave you with a final thought. You don't have to be perfect to take control. You just have to be intentional. Catch yourself in the act of doubt and flip the switch, interrupt the spiral, redirect the energy. Talk to yourself like someone worth fighting for. Because you are. And when life gets tough, that habit, that voice you've been training, it will speak back. It'll say, you've been through worse. You've done harder things. You've got this. And that, my friend, is when everything changes. Let's continue this journey. Let me start with a simple truth. You become what you feed. If you feed your body junk, you'll feel sluggish. If you feed your mind fear, you'll feel anxious. But if you feed your spirit hope, discipline, and vision, then you'll feel strong, unshakable. Don't just nourish your body. Nourish your mind. Feed your spirit. Let me ask you a question. What are you consuming every day? Not just food. I'm talking about information. I'm talking about ideas. I'm talking about influences. Because life doesn't just happen to you. Life responds to your habits. And one of the greatest habits you can develop is the habit of mental nutrition. You see, most people don't guard their minds. They let the news in. They let negativity in. They let gossip, comparison, and worry in. And then they wonder why they feel tired, why they feel defeated, why they feel like life's not worth fighting for. But let me tell you, it's not always the storm on the outside, it's the storm on the inside that sinks the ship. If you want to stay positive when life gets hard, you've got to learn how to fuel your inner world, not with fantasy, but with faith. Not with noise, but with wisdom. You wouldn't eat fast food every day and expect to feel your best. So why would you feed your mind trash every day and expect to think clearly? That's why I say, every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. Choose carefully what you read, what you listen to, who you let speak into your life. That's your mental diet. And your mental diet determines your emotional health, your ability to persevere, to stay centered, to bounce back. Let me give you an example. You go through a hard time. Maybe you lose a job. Now, what you feed your mind in that moment will either lift you or crush you. If you feed fear, what if I'm never good enough? What if things never get better? You spiral. But if you feed strength, this is not the end. I've overcome worse. This is my chance to grow. You rise? And let me tell you, rising doesn't happen by accident. It happens by preparation. It happens when you've trained your inner world, when you've put in the work daily to condition your mind for truth and toughness. That's why I always carried a book, a quote, a journal, because I was building my inner library. I wasn't just living by chance. I was living by design. So here's the big question for you. What's in your daily routine that feeds your spirit? Is it reading something that sharpens you? Is it listening to wisdom instead of worry? Is it praying, journal, or reflecting? If you're not feeding your spirit, life will feed your fears. You have to choose what you absorb. And here's the secret. Whatever you feed grows. Feed faith, and it grows stronger. Feed courage, and it takes root. Feed purpose, and life begins to respond. But if you feed worry, worry gets louder. If you feed bitterness, it begins to poison your joy. Now, I'm not saying life is always sweet. It's not. There will be storms. You'll be tested. Sometimes you'll cry, and you'll question the journey. But in those moments, your mental nutrition becomes your lifeline. Let me tell you something from my own life. There were days I didn't have much. Days when my pockets were empty. But my mind was full of ideas, full of hope, full of strategy, because I kept feeding it. I kept listening. I kept learning. And slowly the outside caught up to the inside. So don't wait until life is easy to strengthen your spirit. Do it now. Start today. Build that inner fortress. Because the winds will blow, but you can be grounded. You can be ready. Feed your spirit, not your fears. That's how you stay positive. That's how you keep going. That's how you outlast the storm. For the next 7 days, cut the junk, turn off the noise, and feed your mind the good stuff. Because the right idea at the right time can change everything. And remember, success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. And who you become is shaped by what you consume. Let's keep building. Let me tell you something about life. It doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes you give it your best, and it still falls apart. You show up on time, you do the work, you care deeply. And then, just like that, the rug gets pulled from under your feet. And it hurts. But here's the key. You've got to stay standing. Because strength isn't about what happens to you. Strength is about what happens in you. It's not what happens that determines your future. It's what you do about it. You see, life will test you. Not to destroy you, but to reveal you. Reveal your character. Reveal your resilience. Reveal what you've built on the inside. So the question is not, will life hit me hard? It's, will I have the strength to stand when it does? Let's talk about that. How to build inner strength when life pushes you down. First, don't run from difficulty. That's what most people do. They deny it, complain about it, wish it away. But you can't grow through avoidance. You grow through acceptance. When something tough happens, face it. Look it in the eye and say, this is my test. Why'd I me? But now, not. I can't handle this. But this is where I prove to myself who I am. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. The more you lean into the hard seasons, the more strength you'll develop. Next, you've got to watch yourself talk. Because when life knocks you down, the voice you listen to matters. Some people talk themselves deeper into the holy, I'm no good. I'll never recover. This is the end. That's not strength. That's sabotage. But strength sounds different. I've been through worse. This won't last forever. I'm not quitting here. You've got to become your own coach. Speak words that lift you, not limit you. The walls we build around us to keep out sadness also keep out joy. So instead of building walls, build bridges. From defeat to determination. From pain to purpose. From breakdown to breakthrough. When life gets confusing, go back to what's true. That's your anchor. Your foundation. When everything's swirling, you need something solid. The principles like discipline, like honesty, like perseverance, these don't change with the economy. They don't shift with public opinion. They're timeless. If you've built your life on passing trends, you'll collapse. But if you've built it on principles, you'll endure. Stand guard at the door of your mind and plant the roots of wisdom deep. When storms come, roots matter. Sometimes the best way to heal yourself is to help someone else. When you feel weak, give. When you're broken, serve. When you feel empty, love, because contribution reminds you that you still have something to offer. You're not done. You're not finished. You still matter. Even if life has knocked you down, you can still reach out your hand and lift someone else up. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You become stronger in the process. You don't build strength in the moment of crisis. You build it before the storm. That's what daily habits are for. That's what reflection, journaling, reading, and discipline do for you. They build the foundation that holds you when the pressure comes. So don't wait until life knocks you down to get strong. Get strong now. Work on your character daily. Exercise your gratitude muscle. Sharpen your emotional intelligence. Stay in motion, because motion creates energy, and energy creates clarity. And clarity helps you rise again. When the winds of life blow, you won't be shaken if you're anchored deep. So here's the truth: you will fall. You will fail. You will hurt. But that doesn't define you. What defines you is this: you keep standing. Every time. No matter what. That's strength. That's power. That's how you win. And remember, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your direction. It's the set of the sail. And next, we're going to talk about how to find light in the darkest moments. Because hope is a decision, and you can choose it no matter what life looks like right now. Let's keep going. Your breakthrough is coming. Sometimes life gets really dark. Not just cloudy. Not just complicated. I'm talking about dark. The kind of season where you can't see what's ahead. You lose someone. You lose something. You lose yourself. And it's in those moments you hear the whisper. Just give up. But I want to remind you of something today. There is always light. It may be dim. It may be far. But it's there. The walls of darkness are not as thick as they appeared if you'll just take one more step. Let me say this again. Slog, you don't have to figure out everything right now. You just have to keep moving toward the light. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about hope, even when it feels impossible. First, understand this. Hope isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you choose to believe. See, too many people say, I'll be hopeful when things get better. No, friend. Things get better when you become hopeful. Because hope lifts you. Hope energizes you. Hope is the fuel that gets you through the desert. Don't join the complainers. Be a builder of hope. That's where leaders come from. Leaders don't wait for the light. They become the light. And you can too. In dark moments, it's tempting to ask, why me? That's a natural response. But let me encourage you, don't stay there too long. The more you ask, why? The more powerless you feel. But when you ask, what now? You regain control. That question puts your hands back on the wheel. That question invites movement. That question sparks hope. Because even in the darkest valley, there's still a next step. It might be small. It might feel insignificant. But it's forward. And forward is where the light is. You are not alone. You are not the only one who has ever felt broken. And sometimes when your own strength runs low, you borrow it from others. That's why stories matter. The man who lost everything and still rebuilt. The woman who walked through grief and still chose to smile. The young person who came from nothing and still dared to dream. These are reminders that the human spirit is unbreakable. And if they can keep going, so can you. You cannot determine what happens, but you can determine what you do with what happens. That's where the power is. In the response. In the courage to say, this is not the end of me. Now, this one may surprise you. But even in the worst of times, there's still something to be grateful for. And gratitude is the crack in the darkness that lets the light in. It could be as small as a sunrise, as simple as a breath, as quiet as a friend who stayed. When you practice gratitude, you stop focusing on what's missing and you start noticing what's still here. Learn to be thankful for what you've got while pursuing what you want. That's how you stay steady in storms. That's how you build hope, one small light at a time. Lastly, hold on to the picture, your picture of the future you want, of the life you dream of the person you're becoming. Even if it's blurry, even if it feels a million miles away, even if you forgot what it looks like, remember, because vision is the compass in the night. You don't have to see every step, just the direction. And every time you act in faith, every time you rise, when it's hard, you move closer to that vision. That's hope. Hope is what helps you build when you don't even know if the sun will rise tomorrow. But the sun does rise. And when it does, it finds you still standing. The sun will rise, and so will you. Don't let a dark chapter convince you it's the whole story. So remember, hope is not passive. Hope is active. Hope is what keeps you in motion when the rest of the world tells you to quit. You may not feel strong, but your decision to move forward, even in pain, that is strength. The darkness is not your home. It's a hallway. And on the other side is a new chapter. Next, we're going to talk about the comeback mindset. How to turn tough times into your greatest advantage. You've been through enough. Now it's time to rise. Let me tell you something I learned early on. You can't avoid tough times, but you can decide what they do to you. See, life will test you. That's the deal. No exemptions. No escape clauses. But the tests, they're not sent to break you. They're sent to reveal you. It's not what happens that determines the quality of your life. It's what you do about what happens. That's the comeback mindset. It's the mindset that says, this may have knocked me down, but it won't keep me there. So let's talk about that today. How to not only survive life's challenges, but use them to fuel your comeback. The first step, stop thinking like a victim. Now, don't misunderstand. Pain is real. Loss is real. But suffering becomes a choice when you stay stuck in the story of defeat. Victims say, look what happened to me. Comeback thinkers say, here's what I'm going to do with what happened to me. You don't have to live your life the way it was handed to you. Take the pen back. Start writing a new chapter. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now, pain has two paths. It can become your prison or it can become your power. Think about it. Every champion you've ever admired, they didn't rise because life was easy. They rose because life was hard and they used it. Disappointment, rejection. These are not the end. They're the raw materials of your transformation. Don't curse the crisis. It may be the turning point of your entire story. So take that pain. And don't just heal from it. Build with it. When life gets tough, your mind wants to shrink. Worry takes over. Fear whispers. There's nothing you can do. But the comeback mindset replaces fear with strategy. It asks, what can I control right now? What skill can I sharpen? What habit can I build? What connection can I strengthen? You move from a reactive life to a proactive one. Because the secret to comebacks, they don't start big. They start small. Small wins. Small steps. Small disciplines. Repeated daily. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines. Practiced every day. That's the comeback. Now let me say something important here. You can't build a comeback surrounded by complainers. You can't rise with people who want to stay stuck. You need builders. People who speak life when you're out of breath. People who remind you of your strength when you've forgotten it. Sometimes your environment needs to change before your results can. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. Spend time with fighters, learners, dreamers, doors, people who see the future in you, even when your present looks broken. Now hear this, your setback is not a stop sign. It's a setup for growth, for wisdom, for strength you never knew you had. What you're going through now, it may be preparing you for something you didn't see coming. Something greater. Maybe this is where you learn to lead. Maybe this is where you become the example. Maybe this is where you find your voice. The greater the challenge, the greater the opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, better. So don't run from the storm. Use it. Let it shape your mindset. Let it deepen your discipline. Let it strengthen your soul. And when you rise, because you will, you won't just be the same person who got knocked down. You'll be better. So let's close with this. A comeback doesn't start when everything feels right. It starts when you decide, right in the middle of the mess, I'm not staying down. You've got more in you. You've got chapters to write. And the next one, it may just be the greatest one yet. Choose strength.
It's growth.
Choose your comeback. Because the best of your life is still ahead of you. Don't just go through life. Grow through life.